Let's go around the table if we can. Steve, let's begin with you. There's a good possibility that the credit markets will get stabilized as a result of this. But what about the overall economy? Is it going to get worse before it gets better?
Yes. We've only seen the financial part of this, Tom. We have seen very little economic impact of this so far, and that's still to come. And by the way, that's going to be the phase. We're going to have the credit crunch is going to impinge on the real economy, and then the real economy is going to impinge back on the financial crisis. So we're going to have a rebound effect on smaller and regional banks and medium-sized banks, which haven't been caught up in this yet. They will get it when the economy goes down. So this thing is going to ping-pong back and forth between the financial economy and the real economy for at least 2 years.
All right, let's go to the other Steve. What do you think?
The remarkable thing I think that we're going to tell is how well the economy performed. I think this may end up having been a banner day for government involvement in the economy. You think about what happened when we let it go down and didn't realize in the Great Depression until much later the government stepped in. I mean, so far we've been kind of zero-ish. It could have been well negative by now, if not already. There's going to be pain to come, but it may be that the pain is much less because the government ended up acting early.
I think that's a fair point. I also think it's important to notice that the job losses we've had so far in this slowdown, or whatever term you'd like to use, Tom, are not as bad as in a usual recession. But it is expected, given some of the repercussions that we've been talking about here in terms of lending, that some of that job loss may accelerate. So that's important. And another thing is, you know, the Treasury Secretary talking to you, he keeps bringing it back to the root is housing. Once housing prices start dropping, stop dropping, we're going to be all right. And I think that's highly questionable because the whole point here is there has been contagion. You see credit card. We haven't seen real blowups there. We might, or on the auto loan side of things. And that not only affects regular Americans, but will have another derivative effect, to use the word, on Wall Street.
Let's talk for just a moment about politics and the impact of all of this. Let's share with our viewers what two of the candidates had to say this week, John McCain and Barack Obama. John McCain begins by talking about Barack Obama.
Maybe just this once, he could spare us the lectures and admit to his own poor judgment in contributing to these problems. The crisis on Wall Street, my friends, started in the Washington culture of lobbying and influence peddling, and he was right square in the middle of it.
Now, this morning, Senator McCain gave a speech in which his big solution to this worldwide economic crisis was to blame me for it. This is a guy who spent nearly 3 decades in Washington, and after spending the entire campaign saying I haven't been in Washington long enough, he apparently now is willing to assign me responsibility for all of Washington's failures.
Senator Obama also did say at some point that both campaigns and both parties have to get together on all of this. But I think the judgment of a lot of people around the country is that neither candidate distinguished themselves last week in talking about this economic crisis, Mr. Pearlstein.
Well, that's probably true. Although, Tom, the truth of the matter is you can only have one Treasury Secretary at a time and only one Fed Chairman. And maybe the best thing for any candidate to say is this is a difficult time, and I'm not going to second-guess them.
John McCain called for the firing of Chris Cox, who runs the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. Is that going to fly?
I don't think so. If I could just say, Tom, what is amazing to me is however many days we are before the election, how marginalized the candidates have become. What's more important now is what the current administration is saying. I think both of these campaigns are besides themselves with how behind the scenes, how unimportant they are. I got an angry note from one of McCain's people saying, McCain came out with this big plan on Friday to solve the problem. I'm like, who cares? I mean, what I care right now is what's going on behind closed doors across town here at Capitol Hill.
Right. They're very frustrated about that because McCain had come out with something actually very similar to what was proposed by the Treasury Secretary. But it does seem, when you think about it, Newsweek's cover, King Henry was the most appropriate time. I mean, we every morning I come on television, we say live from the financial capital of the world. Well, today, we are live from the financial capital of the world. I mean, it truly is an experiment. Some people say socialism. Some people say taxpayers look at the upside. But the center of the world right now is in Washington, of the Washington of today. And Hank Paulson is the CEO of the United States.
A friend of mine said he was on his way back from Washington to Wall Street. He said, which is now the People's Republic of Wall Street.
Exactly.
Thank you all very much. It's been very enlightening and I hope helpful for our viewers. I think it's important for them to know that we're not at the end of this crisis. We don't know where we are in the passage at this point, and it's going to require all of us to pay a lot of attention. And of course, we'll be looking at CNBC and reading you, Steve, in the Washington Post as well. Thanks very much. We'll have much more about all this, including interviews with Obama and McCain in a special report tonight on CNBC entitled Wall Street Crisis. Is your money safe? That's the essential question. That's tonight on CNBC at 8 Eastern. And we'll be right back.